Welcome to Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. You are going to hear the stories from the eclectic life of a guy who is a professional counselor, a family man, a SWAT team chaplain, outdoor enthusiast, a guy involved with ropes, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, a chaotic Jedi, and who is a recipient of an honorary doctorate from the University of Adversity. Using these stories, we take the facts lead to concepts, and from the concepts we make a variety of life applications. Just a caveat about the facts. Most of the time we will tell you the facts just the way it happened, but once in a while we'll give you the facts the way other people remember how it happened, and that usually includes a tablespoon of embellishment. No harm is meant, just good, clean fun for educational purposes. Please subscribe and share this with your friends. As always, we thank you for keeping up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Faulkner University introduces the Master of Arts in Christian Counseling and Family Ministry. Many youth ministers are not well prepared for the complex challenges facing youth, parents, and families today. This program is not designed to fulfill any requirements toward becoming a licensed counselor, but it is designed to equip the career youth and family minister to do just that, minister to families, by integrating prevention-oriented counseling skills and intervention strategies within a church setting. The courses include, but are not limited to, counseling skills, counseling couples and families in crisis, family dynamics, human intimacy and sexuality, parent and character education, as well as church assessments. All courses may be completed online from the convenience of your home or workplace and at the time that fits your schedule. Most courses are only 8 weeks long. There is a 60% tuition discount for members of the Churches of Christ. Visit the website faulkner.edu/KGST. KGST stands for Curley Graduate School of Theology. That's faulkner.edu/KGST, or contact Jimmy Holland, Director of Biblical Studies Recruiting, at jholland, HOLLAND, jholland@faulkner.edu with any questions or to find out about the eligibility requirements for the tuition discount. Faulkner University is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Darn. I is the iconic beginning of Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train. It debuted in 1980 as a single on his first solo project album, The Blizzard of Oz, and for some reason it was still popular in the summer of 1983, or at least it was popular in the mind of Greg Stallings, my brother's roommate at Faulkner University. I was unfamiliar with the song, and that popular music was not available to me in the 1968 Impala named West Wind. Not that West Wind did not like Ozzy, but rather there was no radio in West Wind. I had made multiple trips, the 8-hour drive from Oxford, Alabama, to the university I was attending, and I had no music whatsoever, just the road sound and the open windows, because West Wind didn't have an air conditioner either. Greg was using part of the iconic song as his battle cry. We, my brother Gerald and I, had driven to Fairhope, Alabama to preach on the weekend and to visit with Greg and his family. It was a strange summer. I had opted not to return to Anniston, Alabama as a youth minister. I'd had some interpersonal issues, and actually they both involved girls. One was a broken engagement and a letter generated by the spurned party, impinging both my Christian character and general worth as a human. I was hurt. I was questioning myself, and I didn't really feel qualified to work with teenagers. At the end of the summer, however, I got a letter from the same young lady recanting such ravings and a conciliatory note that I had been wise beyond my years to end that particular part of my life. The other female was one I'd never dated. But for some reason, she and her boyfriend, she being a member of my youth group and he not being a member of my youth group, but dated her, and he was from another church, had decided to make my ministry after my first year of college a bit of a trial. They both, for some reason, took great pleasure in disrupting my Bible classes and not supporting the events that we'd scheduled, and generally sowing seeds of discord, disrespect, and chaos. It it would not be the only trial I would ever face as a minister, but it was my first. It was a trial, and actually my first experience with what I would consider to be betrayal. This is different than drama in your youth ministry. This wasn't drama in the youth ministry. It was drama targeted at my youth ministry. No one knows what a hard summer that was, not even my mentor, John Rice. And this is the first time I've ever mentioned it out loud or given it voice. But here I was, not going to work at a church in the summer and going to live in Montgomery and help my brother and do some stuff with the youth group he was working with and do some traveling and speaking. So I was still technically in ministry, but I just wasn't working at the same church. My brother and I were traveling weekends and we would speak. He worked at Bible and School Supply in Montgomery, and I worked for the Alabama Department of Public Safety in their front office, checking IDs and getting people in to see different folks who are having trouble with their driver's license. But every weekend we'd travel somewhere and speak. And I don't know what the residents of Woodmere Apartments thought about the boys who lived in the upper corner apartment. Every Friday afternoon, we'd leave to go speak somewhere. And the somewhere we spoke was often at the invitation of friends, people who either knew me or knew Gerald from college. And it would always be, hey, we want you to come down and speak at our church on Sunday, but we want you to come on Friday night, spend the night, and we can do some stuff. So bring your rifles. Tell Lonnie to bring his ropes. And so we would leave the apartment, walk out on that front landing and walk down those steps, and everybody else was either getting in from work or leaving for their Friday night dates, and we'd walk out carrying our travel bags, gun cases, and ropes. We would return late Sunday evenings wearing suits. Yes, the boys in the upper corner apartment were either bounty hunters, hitmen, or the Winchester brothers before the Winchester brothers were cool, or we were something worse. But we traveled every weekend, and this particular weekend we're in Fairhope, Alabama, and we've already climbed and swung from the coastal pine trees, and so now we're at the beach. We're at the beach, and they are trying to drown me. They are dragging me toward deep water, and I am fighting for my life. And I don't mean playfully. I'm fighting for my life. You see, having nothing better to do, we were using the old pack saddle method and throwing each other up into the air in about waist-deep water, and the person thrown would do their best to execute a somersault before landing in the chosen wave. Each time we would throw Greg into the air, he would hit us with Ozzy's I, just as he executed his flip. Well, it was my turn. Gerald put his right hand on his left elbow, and Greg put his right hand on his left elbow. And then Gerald grabbed Greg's right elbow, and Greg grabbed Gerald's right elbow, making what we call the pack saddle grab. It was a way we used to carry people around. I placed my hands on the awaiting shoulders. I climbed onto the makeshift human arm ladder, and we waited on our wave. As the swell came over us, they ducked, and they propelled me upward using their arms and their legs. And I went airborne. I was probably 8 or 9 feet in the air and trying to do a somersault, but something went not right. I don't think something went wrong. Something just went not right. And I half rotated, and I came down head first into the shallow water because the wave went away. I think maybe something happened to do with the tidal surge or whatever, and we didn't have as much water as we thought we were going to have. Well, I landed in the water, and I landed on my head in the compact sand while simultaneously drinking in some, if not most, of the Gulf. I came up coughing. I came up hurt. I came up dazed, and I was confused as a sign language interpreter at a bilingual Pentecostal church. I headed out to sea, which I thought was toward the shore. I don't like deep water, and I had to get out of it. They grabbed me and started dragging me toward the shore, which in my addled state I thought was out to sea. And That's when the fight started. We weren't tussling, we weren't wrestling, we were fighting. And I fought like the third monkey on the ark, and it's starting to rain. I did not articulate my fear. I did not challenge them. I did not ask, "What do you think you're doing?" I just fought against what I thought they were doing. Eventually, the concussion cleared, the fog went away, and I realized that I was keeping them from helping me. I realized they were trying to help me, but I didn't have a clear view. I didn't have a clear understanding. I thought I knew what I was doing, and I thought I knew what they were trying to do, so I fought them. But when the realization hit me, not when they hit me, and they had every right to have hit me, but they didn't. When it hit me, I could see where I was headed. I could see where I was headed was the wrong direction. I could see that it was bad, and where they were trying to take me was actually better. At the time, what they were doing to me didn't feel safe. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel kind. I was resistant, and they were forcing me to go somewhere I didn't want to go. They were forcing me to go somewhere where I didn't have the sense to go on my own. I don't know who you are in this story. You may be the guy who feels like everyone is trying to drag you out to sea. You may be scared, confused, hurt, or overwhelmed. And you may be convinced that you are right and you have every right to go the way you choose, and you have every right to fight against these people. The problem is that whatever happened, whatever caused your head to get all mixed up, whatever it was that hurt you, you don't know it. You don't realize you're hurt. You don't realize you're concussed. You don't realize you're confused. Whatever hurt you, it wasn't the people who were trying to help you now. And you might just need to stop and ask yourself, if these people who are interfering with my life, if they left me alone, if I followed this path. Jordan Peterson has this really cool exercise you do. I think it's called self-journaling, where you look at where you are and you look at where you're headed and you project a trajectory and you say, 5 years from now, do I want to be where that leads? And if not, you start making some changes in your life. So maybe you should just simply ask yourself, hey, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel kind. But if they left me alone and let me do what I wanted to do, where would I be? Where would I end up if they just got out of my way? How far out would I get? How far would I go before I was over my head? How far out would I get before I couldn't get back? There are people in our lives who want to prevent us from getting too far out and getting in too deep. But in the moment of crisis and panic and disorientation, it's hard for us to trust them. It's hard for us to let them guide us. It's hard to even let them stop you because you feel like it's us against them. And you don't really realize that they have your best interest in mind. In the end, it's an individual choice. If you're the person in the story and you've always believed everyone, and that's important insight, if you've always believed everyone who ever challenged you, questioned you, disappointed you, or put barriers in your way, if you've always believed those people were against you and trying to hold you back, trying to hold you down, you might rethink those thoughts. You can continue to fight, or you can at least stop fighting long enough to realize what's really going on. You don't even really have to change directions. Just stop fighting long enough to say, this is where I'm going, and this is where they're trying to get me to go. One path leads to life, and one path leads to death. You do get to choose. But don't fight me just because I can see it and you can't. If you're that person in the story, if you're the adult one, evaluate the people around you and ask, what are they really trying to do? You may be the other guy in the story. You may be the two guys who's fighting the wild man in the waves. That's a tough place to be for sure. You can clearly see where they are going. And even though they don't want your help and haven't asked for your help and are being resistant, even combative maybe, you've decided for whatever reason, hey, I'm going to wade out there and I'm going to fight with this person, and if not turn them around, at least stop them. And maybe even in extreme cases against their will, I'm going to drag them backwards. What do you do when someone you love, when someone you care about gets hurt and then just decides to walk away? I will only fight that battle for so long. We have a different view, and one of us can't see reason. I'm only going to fight that battle for so long. Someone who won't listen and refuses my help, I'll only fight that fight for so long. I don't think either position in the story is enviable, the guy trying to go out to sea or the guy trying to drag him back. But if you're the guy who's trying to drag people back, at some point the water gets too deep for me to be in it with them. At some point when you're trying to help the hurt people, you can't want it for them. At some point I have to see what fighting with them is actually doing to me. At some point I have to realize they're not rejecting me. They're just seeking safety and comfort and survival. But they're deeply, deeply misguided, and I can't take it personal. At some point, you have to let go. I don't really think it matters who you are in the story, and I can't elaborate on all the possible end scenarios for if you're the guy trying to get out to sea and you're fighting with people, or if you're the people fighting the guy trying to get out to sea. It really doesn't matter which one of those you are in the story. The point is to realize that one day you may have to stop fighting and get off the crazy train.